Hey everyone, it's Alex, and I am here with my video for the third Critics' Choice Documentary Awards. Now, the Critics' Choice Documentary Awards are an award show designed to honor both film and television documentaries, and they're put on by the Broadcast Film Critics Association and the Broadcast Television Journalists Association, which are the same organization that does the Critics' Choice Awards for movies and TV shows. But a few years ago they decided to create their own separate award show for documentaries. Now, the categories have often changed quite a bit over the years, and this is only its third year, but like in the past you'd have all the categories like music documentary, political documentary, sports documentary, best documentary overall, and you still have that, but now we have some technical categories this year as well. So the ceremony will be held on Saturday, November 10th, which will probably be the day this video is posted to YouTube, just because I've been busy catching up with other videos I had to make, and it will be hosted by Bill Nye. Now, these awards are not going to be broadcast on TV, and nor do I think they'll be streamed live on YouTube. Maybe clips will show up in the future, but it's not going to be broadcast on any network or channel that I know of. So we'll just have to wait until the winners are revealed before I can make a video about them. So I'm just going to go through the nominations real quick, and then I'm going to comment on some of these documentaries that I've seen or heard about, because this has been quite an interesting year for documentaries. So here are the nominations for the third Critics' Choice Documentary Awards. Best Cinematography: Brett Lowell, The Dawn Wall; Jimmy Chin, Claire Popkin, and Mikey Schaefer, Free Solo; Bing Liu, Minding the Gap; David Douglas, Pandas; Ilan Bugarin, Jonathan Bugarin, and Alejandro Mejia, 306 Hollywood; Adam Stone, Wild Wild Country; Best Editing: J. Arthur Sterenberg, Dark Money; Tony Ziera, Film Worker; Bob Eisenhart, Free Solo; Julian Farreau, John McEnroe, In the Realm of Perfection; Michael Hart, Three Identical Strangers; Jeff Malmberg and Aaron Wickenden, Won't You Be My Neighbor. Best Ongoing Documentary Series: American Masters; Anthony Bourdain, Parts Unknown; Frontline; The History of Comedy; Independent Lens; Making a Murderer; POV; 30 for 30. Best Limited Documentary Series: America to Me; Dirty Money; Elvis Presley, The Searcher; Flint Town; The Fourth Estate; One Strange Rock; Wild Wild Country; The Zen Diaries of Gary Shandling. Best Music Documentary: Bad Reputation; David Bowie, The Last 5 Years; Elvis Presley, The Searcher; Lynyrd Skynyrd, If I Leave Here Tomorrow; Quincy; Ryuichi Sakamoto, Coda; Whitney. Best Political Documentary: Dark Money; Fahrenheit 11/9; Flint Town; The Fourth Estate; Hitler's Hollywood; John McCain, For Whom the Bell Tolls; RBG. Best Sports Documentary: Andre the Giant; Being Serena; Free Solo; John McEnroe, In the Realm of Perfection; Minding the Gap; The Workers' Cup. Most Innovative Documentary: Free Solo; Hitler's Hollywood; Ryuichi Sakamoto, Coda; 306 Hollywood; Wild Wild Country; Won't You Be My Neighbor. Best First Time Director: Amy Scott, Hal; Heather Lenz, Kusama Infinity; Bing Liu, Minding the Gap; Stephen Nomura Scheibel, Ryuichi Sakamoto, Coda; Christina Constantini and Darren Foster, Science Fair; Rudy Valdez, The Sentence. Best Director: Kimberly Reed, Dark Money; Jimmy Chin and Elizabeth Chai Vasarhelyi, Free Solo; Rudiger Suchsland, Hitler's Hollywood; Bing Liu, Minding the Gap; Tim Wardle, Three Identical Strangers; Chapman Way and McLean Way, Wild Wild Country. Morgan Neville, Won't You Be My Neighbor? And finally, the last competitive award, Best Documentary Feature. Crime and Punishment, Dark Money, Free Solo, Hal, Hitler's Hollywood, Minding the Gap, RBG, Three Identical Strangers, Wild Wild Country, Won't You Be My Neighbor? And then the last award, this is not a competitive award, but rather an award given out to all the people that I'm about to mention, Most Compelling Living Subject of a Documentary. Scotty Bowers, Scotty and the Secret History of Hollywood. Ruth Bader Ginsburg, RBG. Alex Honnold, Free Solo. Joan Jett, Bad Reputation. Quincy Jones, Quincy. David Kellman and Bobby Shafrin, Three Identical Strangers. John McEnroe, John McEnroe in the Realm of Perfection. Leon Vitali, Film Worker. And again, like I said, all these people will be receiving this award. It's an honor award, not a competitive award. And then finally, two special honors will be given out. The Critics' Choice Impact Award will be given to Stanley Nelson, and the Critics' Choice Lifetime Achievement Award will be given to Michael Moore. So those are the nominees. Now, I've heard about some of these, and I've seen quite a few of them, because like I said earlier, this has been quite a great year for documentaries, with a lot of them not only getting high praise, but doing really well at the box office by documentary standards. Probably the most notable is Won't You Be My Neighbor, the documentary about Mr. Rogers and his impact on American television and American culture in general, with like a lot of personal insights from him of audio interviews, TV interviews, and members of his TV crew, his family, and it just gives a lot of great insight and depth into the man and shows just how really special and one of a kind he was. I mean, I saw it in a packed theater, which you usually never see for a documentary. This documentary's been getting huge buzz, and when it was over, literally the entire audience, including myself, was crying. I mean, this is the kind of documentary where if it doesn't get nominated or let alone win Best Documentary Feature at the Oscars, I'm going to be flabbergasted. I hope it wins here too, big time, because it is probably one of the best documentaries I've ever seen about a particular person. And then, of course, RBG, the documentary about Ruth Bader Ginsburg. That was another fantastic documentary that also did really well, both critically and at the box office. You know, she's one heck of a woman. You know, it was just in the news that she was hospitalized for broken ribs, but she's already out and still vowing to keep on serving on the Supreme Court. And you go, Ruth, you're an awesome woman. And it just goes to show how much she's had to fight to get to where she is today, because she's had to overcome a lot of challenges, partly because of her being a woman in a profession that at the time was pretty much considered a man's profession, of being a lawyer and then being a judge. I also saw Three Identical Strangers, really good documentary. I wouldn't say it was as good as Won't You Be My Neighbor or RBG, but it definitely had one of those stranger than fiction stories where you wouldn't think this would be true. You would think it comes from like a Ray Bradbury or a Stephen King novel of what happened, but what happened really did happen. And basically it's about, if you haven't seen it, I'll just describe as how the trailer frames it. It's about these three brothers, identical triplets, who were separated at birth and adopted into different families, and the effect of them being separated at birth and that being adopted into different families and being basically used as subjects in an experiment by this psychiatrist without their knowledge until they were all grown up, and the effect it had on them and their families, it's quite something. So those are like the three big documentaries that have been gaining a lot of buzz. Free Solo, I have not seen that. I probably won't have time to see that, but I've heard amazing things about it. It's about that guy, Alex Honnold. I'm not sure if that's the correct way to pronounce his last name. If it's not, write it in the comment section below. But I've heard about him. He's that guy who climbed, I think it was the El Capitan Mountain at Yosemite National Park. Climbed it just without any ropes or other climbing gear that you would need for something like that. Just climbed it with his bare hands. I've heard that filming it was like filming a Mission Impossible movie because of how they had to position the cameras and everything to capture what they needed. But one documentary I did see in the music documentary is Whitney. That, of course, is the documentary about Whitney Houston. Like a lot of documentaries, it's kind of a basic run-through of her entire life from when she was born to when she died, and you see all the things like her childhood, her early career, her marriage to Bobby Brown, her battle with substance abuse, her attempt at a career comeback, and of course her tragic death. And we get all the people and everyone from her mother to her ex-husband to her close friends, and anyone who was anyone in her life is interviewed. And you know, it's your typical music documentary. There isn't really anything revolutionary or new about it, but it's a very good documentary. If you love documentaries about musicians, and if you're a Whitney Houston fan, then it's obviously a must-see. But some documentaries I've heard about but haven't seen. I heard John McEnroe in the Realm of Perfection. Of course, obviously it's about tennis player John McEnroe. Wild Wild Country, that's that documentary mini-series on Netflix. I believe it's about a cult in Oregon, from what I've heard. Quincy, obviously that's a documentary about Quincy Jones. It is on Netflix, and I do plan to watch it. And it is directed by his daughter, actress Rashida Jones. The Zen Diaries of Gary Shandling, I heard about that. It's like a documentary miniseries on HBO about Gary Shandling, obviously, and it was actually directed by Judd Apatow, and it actually won an Emmy earlier this year. And of course, there's a lot of other documentaries about people, and you can tell from the title, like David Bowie, The Last 5 Years, Elvis Presley, The Searcher, and Ryuichi Sakamoto, Coda. And then, of course, there's Michael Moore's newest documentary, Fahrenheit 11/9, and it's pretty much doing the exact same thing as Fahrenheit 9/11, whereas while that film went after George W. Bush, this one goes after Donald Trump. John McCain, For Whom the Bell Tolls, I did not see that, but I believe it was on HBO, and I'm sure I could watch it on HBO Go. And of course, John McCain passed away a couple of months ago from brain cancer. Rest in peace. Even though I wasn't necessarily on the same page politically as he was still a very admirable man who I think a lot more people could model themselves after in terms of being a political figure who has dignity and honor. I've heard about Andre the Giant, but I didn't see it. It didn't come to my area, and I don't know where else it might have been because I don't think it was on HBO or Netflix. I've heard of Minding the Gap, but I think it was just released in some theaters. It didn't come to my area. That's basically a documentary about skate culture. We kind of had a movie that just came out about skate culture, Jonah Hill's directorial debut, mid-90s. That was a good film, but I didn't necessarily love it as much as others have. I'm at least glad that the documentaries I did see this year are getting the recognition that they deserve. And unlike my Emmys video, I will try this time to post a video about the winners within a couple of days of when they're announced, because now I'm finally, for the most part, caught up. But let me know in the comments section below what you think of these nominees, and which ones are you personally rooting for to win. Thanks so much for watching. If you've not yet subscribed to my channel, please click the subscribe button and the little bell so you can get all my videos as soon as they're uploaded. And please stay tuned for my upcoming videos in the future about some more Oscar categories whose submissions have been announced, as well as the winners for the 3rd Critics' Choice Documentary Awards, And until then, I will see you guys next time. Bye.